This video is going to be a look at the Ravens defense in Week 5 loss to the Steelers. I think they played extremely well for large portions of the game. Up through the third quarter, we've given up 3 points, 1 field goal, got 2 stops coming out of halftime, even after that deflating situation where we don't get any points, regardless of what, all of our opinion is at the end of the second quarter. Not getting points could deflate a team, and then this defense comes out and still gets 2 stops. I want to talk about some of the coverages and some of the things we were doing, number one. And number two, illustrate to you or attempt to illustrate to you that the large majority of the Steelers' successful plays were to the boundary. Now, Patrick Queen plays to the boundary. This is not about him. The Steelers were ceding or yielding the field side attack for much of the game. Jalen Warren had some real cool moments, for Steelers fans late in the game. Runs hard. He's a bowling ball, difficult to tackle. George Pickens obviously had an amazing game, including the big touchdown one-on-one against Marlon Humphrey. This is going to focus on how well the Ravens defense played for 3.5 quarters, almost 4, because I think we still have the lead with 6 minutes left. And then the missed opportunity that it is for our offense. Point number 2, and then the final point, the third one, is that Patrick Queen's frustration, what he's talking about when he says, I'm tired of this situation, I'm tired of how this keeps happening, we've got to fix it. I think he's talking about the offensive dynamic. I think that's what he's talking about. If you look at the Colts game and the Steelers game, our 2 losses, games where our defense played quite well for large portions of the game. We did give up 3 chunk plays against the Colts. Of course, Marlon got beat by George Pickens, which is a huge moment. Steelers fans should be excited about that. Pickens, a second-year player, 6 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Let's get to some of the film. Got it in the database, so some of the information will pop up. This is first possession, kind of just to illustrate to you that the Steelers in money situations were going to attack to the boundary. It's a 3rd and 6. Twin slot A-gun, meaning the tight end and the running back is on the same side to the boundary. So you've got 3 potential guys to get the football over there. Queen kind of starts moving inside of the running back, meaning he's moving further this way. They run a little simple out concept by the number 2. Stevens passes it inside, but then takes way too many steps inside, gives up leverage. It's too easy a completion for my money. At the NFL level, Stevens knows he's got funnel coverage, basically inside-out linebacker in Queen, and then I think that's Hamilton to the high side. For my money, he's got to come off that sooner in terms of funneling him inside and not give up this easy completion. That's just pitch and catch. But for the most part, I thought Brandon Stevens played quite well once again. All right, ball's on the left hash. This time the tight end and the running back is to the field. And you've got a 2nd and 5. It's a run by Harris for a 1 yard. Check out Matabike. I'll try to illustrate Matabike, Pierce, and Jones multiple times. I mean, look at the violence with his hands, framing the guy up with the backside arm. So what I mean by that is the guard is stepping to him. Guard stepping to him. He ends up framing him up with the left arm and shedding the block and then making the tackle. It's a 1 year. Queen's involved. Clowney's involved. It's an awesome day for most of the day for our defense, just a real wasted opportunity. We could be sitting here talking about a dominant defense that only gave up 10 points or even less if our offense does their part. First possession, 3rd and 4, one of the first times where they go to the back shoulder to the field. That's the only real attack that I saw to the field with the pass was outside the bottom of the numbers to the sideline, basically just taking advantage of the frame, the length of Pickens and his ability to adjust, look back for the football. I intend to take a real close look at Pickens because, first of all, he's a talented player. He's fun to watch. Even though we're Ravens fans and he tore us up, he's fun guy to watch. Second of all, these DBs are incredibly well trained nowadays. I'm just wondering why there's times where he's looking back and we're not doing a better job of making some type of play on the football. I want to see if there's any routes where he's up here pressing the sideline, looking back, and then makes a double move out of it up the sideline. I'm not sure if that's what the touchdown occurred on. If it is and you're aware of it, feel free to let me know. But I'm interested in some of the things that we are and are not doing in terms of when we're playing him, because he's going to be a matchup problem for everybody. All right, ball on the left hash, tight end into the boundary, bunch to the field. Second possession now. It's a 2nd and 8. It's a 2 yard run by Harris. Check out Travis Jones here. This is badass. Center tries to get to him. Again, backside arm framing him up, shedding the block, and fitting underneath of this. Call us. He might be getting ready to get reached, but he sees the play. So then he's basically going to go on the back door of this block. Look where the heels of the center are. He's totally dislodged him. Queen's fitting on the backside there in case the running back cuts it back. The run game just was not there for large portions of the day for the Steelers. Jalen Warren did have some nice runs in the fourth quarter, and I think Najee Harris had a couple of 8-yard, 10-yard runs. For the most part, we did a good job all day. All right, another 3rd and 6. Now, this is ball in the middle of the field. So now you've got 2 to one side and 2 to the other. So it's not like there's trips to the field or trips to the boundary. So our coverage is not as predictable. Therefore, Pickett doesn't kind of know where to go with the football. And when I say our coverage isn't as predictable, I'll explain that in a minute when we show another 3-by-1 formation, and you can see what the Steelers were doing. Again, Brandon Stephens on Austin, who's a fantastic young talent, if you ask me. Nice job on that play to get the stop. Stephens is one of those guys that's physical while apparently not breaking the rules here recently. I know he's had a lot of defensive pass interference calls in his career. Okay, 3rd possession now. Pickens up top. Now this is ball on the hash, so they're attacking to the boundary, but it's the backside of what's becoming a 3-by-1 formation. 19, Austin is motioning across. This is where the Steelers made a lot of their money, attacking to the boundary, either up the sideline with Pickens at times or underneath concepts because we're generally playing man on the backside of 3-by-1 stuff. This is a brilliant job of using his frame, throwing it up there. I have no idea if he pushed off on these. He does have a tendency to kind of, ever so slightly extend his arms and use his frame. He seems to be, other guys get called for it more than he does. He seems to be really adept at that slight push off that doesn't really extend too much, and he can do that because his arms are so long. So, kudos to him that he's almost perfected that technique. Same drive. This one's incomplete to Pickens, who's up again into the boundary at the top side of the field against Stephens, and it's a great job by Stephens. You can see Pickens again looking back for the football. Our guy, turning maybe a little bit late, but real sticky coverage all over him. We're playing man to the backside, almost all the time into the boundary out of a 3-by-1 or even sometimes a 2-by-2 set. And I think that's the thing that the Steelers started to take advantage of eventually. All right, 3rd and 7 on that same 3rd possession, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Up to the boundary side, the short side, we got man here, and we've got man here. So what ends up happening, this is very similar to Mark Andrews' touchdown last week against the Browns, his 2nd and final touchdown, where he started to the zone side of the coverage and ended up on the man side. Now, Brandon Stephens sees the drag by Austin and releases it underneath. That's actually not Austin. I'm sorry, that's Pickens. And what ends up happening is it's kind of like a domino effect. Queen takes the running back man. This drag right here, Stephens releases it and kind of zones off. Fine, that's probably what he's taught to do. That's why he's doing that. Warren is going to end up taking Queen up the sideline some, clearing out all this space for Hayward to run onto. So we're getting a man call on the backside, but Stephens is allowed to release on a drag, which is being taken over by Roquan Smith to the field. So that all works out good. I think you've got some kind of mistake here on Stephens or the boundary side safety in terms of, okay, one is underneath. Let me find some work. There's no work here, The Ravens' DBs and corners are incredibly well trained and know a whole hell of a lot more about it than I do, but you certainly don't want to leave a guy open on 3rd and 7 like that. So I'm interested in what the read is supposed to be when one disappears, meaning the number 1 receiver, Pickens from the boundary, disappears on a drag, how we're supposed to find work coming from the other side with Queen locked up in man on the running back. So we give up a 1st down on a 3rd down, but unfortunately for the Steelers, we do a nice job playing zone to the field. Again, there just was not as much available to the Steelers, to the field. We're zoning this off here with Humphrey. Once the ball is thrown, he just jacks up Allen Robinson. Look, I'll be honest with you. I've watched this in slow motion a couple of times. This is damn near a forced fumble. That ball looks out to me before his knees hit the ground. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I'm remarking that it's a brilliant play by Marlon Humphrey and an example of what he can do in limited situations. One of the guys in our Discord mentioned it very astutely. He said, Marlon's fitness wasn't there all the way. Well, it makes sense. He hasn't played all year. And then we saw the fruits of that, unfortunately, when Pickens beats him late. But there was times where he looked like the old Marlon Humphrey, like that one right there. All right, so the very next play, 3rd and 7. And so since they're attacking to the boundary a lot, we blitz from the field. Pickett is going to end up looking down here to the boundary. You can see him looking here for the boundary side safety, which is Kyle Hamilton. We're zone dropping D tackles out of there. Pickett has no time to come back and check to the field because Malay has perfectly timed his blitz. Really cool stuff. Great job by our coaches, if you ask me, of identifying, okay, they're attacking to the boundary. Pickett's very rarely looking to the field immediately. Let's bring the nickel from the field. He doesn't see it. Drop out the D tackles, who I'm assuming occupied some interior linemen. Big sack, damn near a forced fumble on a 3rd possession, forces a punt. That's how well our defense is playing. That's the margin for error that there was for this Steelers offense. You got to give them credit. They didn't turn the football over, and they were able to squeeze out a win. All right, 4th possession. They've reached midfield. I think they get their field goal here. And Pickens beats us on a slant. Where is it coming from? The boundary. We got man with Humphrey, and we're normally going to be man on the back with Queen. Look at the opening that's there on the slant. I'm not saying it's wrong and you can't do this, but that's what the Steelers were doing, taking advantage of our backside coverage in 3-by-1 formations. You can see you've got zone relationship up here, a zone look from the safety, man backside, and that's exactly where Pickett goes with the football. Pickens wins on the slant. Big play, helps them get downfield and get a field goal. Close to 10-3, and of course we know it ended up being 10-3 at the half, unfortunately for us. Not saying that anything the Ravens are doing was wrong, but that's the coverage we're playing generally to the backside of a 3-by-1 formation. Steelers knew that, and that's where they attacked. Very next play, extremely interesting to me. They put the bunch into the boundary, which is abnormal. Normally the bunch is to the field. And now Pickens is to the field. Normally he's to the boundary. Not saying the Ravens should have picked up on this, but it ends up being a reverse to the boundary. I do think the nickel is on the wrong side of the field. Generally, your nickel is going to be to the side of the bunch. My guess is we must be presuming that someone's going to motion to the other side of the field, and Kyle Hamilton will be able to take that over and match those numbers. But as it is now, numbers-wise, to the bottom side of the field, we're in trouble. And once this receiver goes in and gets Patrick Queen and they pin down Malik Harrison, the announcers got this wrong, blaming Marlon Humphrey. Like, the edge is there, fella. Like, you've got 4 potential blockers and the ball carrier, so that's 5 on 2 with Harrison being pinned. This is over. It doesn't matter what Marlon Humphrey does. So sometimes, and I do it too, obviously. Sometimes we make an instant evaluation, and we should hopefully get to see the play again a second time. I think that's why it will be interesting to have more guys up in the booth. As an aside, I was recently asked to do color commentary, or I don't know what it's called, for a high school game. I wasn't available to do it that day, but I might take people up on it. So if I do, I'll let you guys know. And then I'll be the guy that people complain about. All right, same possession. Obviously, after that, that was actually a 16-yard gain by Pickens. Brilliant usage by the Steelers of him, lining him up to the field, running the reverse to the boundary. This is going to be Warren to the field, away from the single receiver side, which is Pickens down there. I mean, they got the one-on-one they want here. Surprising they don't go there. Ends up being essentially a screen to the outside. Hamilton, Harrison there, none of it. Multiple guys in pursuit. Our defense was swarming at this time. This is what makes the end of the first half situation very difficult to understand for me, is how well our defense was playing. It's almost as if no one was watching. Like, hey, who cares if they get the ball with 33 seconds left? They're not going to go down and score on our defense in 30 seconds. This is a pressure by Van Noy. It's a stunt, exchange stunt, twist stunt, whatever you want to call it, on a 3rd and 11. Pickett has to get out of there, nowhere to go. We've zoned off, good coverage. Throwaway ends up in a field goal. We know how the rest of the half went. When you talk about the decision that we made to possibly try to draw them off sides or whatever we were doing at the end of the first half, for me, it's kind of like, why? 13-3 at the half. with the way our defense was playing looks pretty damn good. It's a very different story than 10-3, especially with the way our offense was playing. And that's the thing for me that is doubly frustrating. It's not just that no one noticed how great our defense was playing to that point. I've just shown you, I think, 13 plays. So you tell me how good they're playing up to halftime. But at that point, no one's noticing how poorly our offense is playing. Now, we have the benefit, I have the benefit in evaluation there of saying, of being able to see the third and fourth quarter offense and make that evaluation now. In my opinion, one of the things that makes a great coach, a great weatherman, a great teacher is someone who can see things early, someone who can see things before everyone else. Sometimes they call you a madman if you can see things early. Sometimes they call you a genius. To me, it's just a coach who pays attention. And that's what makes that decision so disappointing for me. All right, a run by Najee Harris. This weird motion by the Steelers across twice. Hamilton fills, Pierce is winning, Queen is committed on a 3rd and 1. No gain. We were just tough against the run for most of the day. Give Jalen Warren credit. I mean, the dude came in and made plays late in the fourth quarter. Call him a change-up back if you want. Call him whatever you want. He's a running back in the NFL who makes plays. Like, I think he's a fantastic player, and he made plays for them when they needed it most. Got a punt there to open the third quarter, which was the Steelers' 6th possession to that point. They've got 1 scoring drive. 7th possession, still in the third quarter. Backed up inside their own 20. And we've got a 2nd and 10. They kind of get the run game going a little bit. We do switch to a 4-3 look here. Harrison walks back. I'll let you guys see it again. Ravens have done this for years. 4-3 look in some ways might be better for the boundary side defense. Puts the boundary side inside linebacker in a little bit less conflict, but they don't run there. They run to the field. Robinson is the edge defender dealing with a tackle, tight end, Washington. And those guys are fighting it out. Ends up being an 8-yard gain for Harris to the field. One of his better runs. Kind of like a second read. Has to bounce it, cut it back up inside C-gap. 8-yard gain. I thought Marcus Williams was a little slow filling at times on run reads Sunday. 3rd and 6. This one is disappointing. We have inverted Williams and Stevens, so I think we've told the Steelers that it's not man at this point. You get a snag release by number 1, smash concept with the running back. So it's not easy to defend this. I'm not saying it is, but I feel like this is the second time, the first one being Stevens and the second one being this one, where our boundary side defense wasn't clear and wasn't reacting quickly. Not sure what Williams is doing. He's a great football player, so I'm not going to be critical too much, but first game back could be the issue. You got the snag by the receiver. I think the tight end running the smash, and nobody out into the flats. This is too easy on a 3rd and 6. Very similar to the one I described to you that I said was too easy on the, I think the first possession. You guys let me know what you think in the comments section. Marcus Williams is a great player. I trust him, but our boundary side defense faltered us there. Same possession, 1st and 10. Warren for 6. They started to soften us up with the run game, I thought, on this drive. 6 yards here by Warren after an 8-yard gain by Harris to the field. D tackles not getting nearly as much horizontal movement without giving ground. A lot of space for Warren to cut it up inside there. We're lucky it wasn't bigger than a 6-yard gain. Still the same drive. 2nd and 4. We bring Queen off the edge. And Urban, I believe, is the sack here. I think we're dropping out Harrison to the boundary. In coverage, so you can see the zone, configuration that we've got. Run it back so you can see it. I know I've been talking too much, so my apologies. Queen off the edge is very disruptive. Pierce is also disruptive. I know Pierce doesn't have a sack yet, but I feel like he's playing well in a lot of these situations. Disrupting the pocket. Urban ends up cleaning it up. Kenny Pickett looked like he was trying to break the pocket up underneath. End zone angle, this is the next to last play I'll show you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing the plays in the last 6 minutes where, Warren made an impact and Pickens touchdown. My point is to show that this effort was ruined by poor decision-making from a coaching staff, drops from our players clearly, and then offensive ineptitude You know, there's periods of time where we just disappear offensively and don't appear to have any identity at all. I love Urban, upending this guy here, like basically forklifting him. He's starting to get held, able to get off and make the sack. Last play, that'll show you. 3rd and 10. Kind of shows you the limitations of their offense without Freiermuth. Washington into the boundary matched up against Hamilton is a matchup in our favor. Clearly, Washington's a big dude and a lot of talent. They had limited options to match up against our defense, and unfortunately, we were unable to take advantage. If you're a Steelers fan and you listen this long, first of all, thank you. Second of all, don't take offense. I'll just tell you what I think I see, and what I think I saw right now, at least, is that the Steelers' offense is not that smooth, and it's not that talented right now, even though George Pickens, showed his ability and made some big plays. You guys let me know what you think of the Ravens defense. If you are in agreement with me at how well they played for 3 quarters and 10 minutes, approximately, something like that, before the bottom fell out in terms of Marlon giving up the big touchdown to Pickens. And I also have some things to say about that in terms of whether he should be put in that position at all. But in any case, we blow another lead and leave a win out on the field. 3-2 doesn't feel fun at all. And I think Patrick Queen, said it best, is that he's tired of it and it's got to be fixed, and it's got to be fixed soon. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. Please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media if you want to see this content get more reach.